Attacker Model Number 2, better known as A2, is one of the 3 protagonists in NIeR Automata. Some consider her the hero, singularity, even the main protagonist. But how do you define her role? A2 belongs to the Number 2 model line. First we had the original Number 2, followed by A2, and then 2B. If you're interested in learning about the original Number 2 story, I covered that in my episode 23 breakdown. You can find the link in the description below. In this video, I'll take you through A2's story from the beginning to the end, primarily from her perspective as presented in the long story short. I'll also explore how her character has evolved across different media, going all the way back to 2014, believe it or not. I'll be skipping details related to other characters and their perspective because, as I mentioned, this video is going to be focused solely on A2. However, I do have more character-focused videos planned for the future. At the end of this video, I'll also reveal some of the hidden lore found in the Volume 2 of the anime box set, so be sure to stick around for that. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this as well. A quick announcement, I now have a channel membership. By clicking the join button below, you'll get access to custom badges and emojis, along with early and ad-free access to my videos. This helps support grow my channel, and it's my way of giving back to you all. I truly appreciate the support. Also, if you notice Stellar Blade footage in this video, don't worry, it won't contain any spoilers. I just wanted some extra B-roll footage, and let's be honest, why not showcase DLC skins from Stellar Blade while we're at it? And finally, if it wasn't already obvious, this video will contain major spoilers from NIeR Automata. Consider this your final warning. A2 is also known as a singularity. In Drakengard 3, we learned that the definition of singularity is persons, places, or things that can trigger a divergence or branch across multiple worlds. Branch phenomena occur when enough magical particles are in an area, and all relevant conditions are met. However, a singularity is not recorded as such until after a branch occurs.
Now, over the weekend at Anime Arizona, I had the lucky opportunity to talk to Cherami Leigh about coming back as A2 in the anime. First of all, today was an A2 day for her. She told me and posted it on her social media. Her boarding pass had A2 on it, and then her gate was also A2. Then I came and gave her an A2 keychain I had an extra of. And then, of course, got her to sign my A2 poster. But to the details you care more about, I spoke with her about doing A2 again in the anime. First of all, she agreed. The anime is for the A2 fans. She was also really nervous to do A2 this time around. The director was telling her that she needed to be more girly this time. But that was hard for her because this wasn't the A2 that we knew from the game.
Shut the hell up.
So she was really nervous about it and hoped us fans liked it. And I think it's a safe bet. We did really enjoy it. Also, I shared with her that one of my new favorite lines from her was yelling at the pod to shut the hell up already. She loved it, and that I put it as an audio in my Discord soundboard. When I spoke to her about episode 17, when it came time to do that scream, she was able to do it in one emotional take. She said the director was being mindful of her voice during that episode and did not want to strain it, but she was okay to do it as many times as needed because she wanted to make sure she got it right. It was really important to her that she did that. Also, it was super cool talking to her because a long time ago, back in 2014, when she was first announced as Sailor Venus at Anime Expo, I asked her, do you remember that panel where there was a noxious fan who yelled, and her face lit up with a big smile and said, oh my god, that was you? She gave me a hug and told me how she was nervous going up on that stage. She wasn't sure how fans would react to the fact that she was Sailor Venus, and so she was super nervous going up on that stage. And hearing me yell that made her mind at ease. So it was super cool. Me being loud and obnoxious helped her out that day. But that is also why she put the I love you on my poster, because she asked if she could do that because she wanted to come full circle. She's also shared with me that some of the NIeR fans have come up to her to tell her that A2 is a villain in the series. I shared with her that fans that I know and talk to see her as the hero. Shout out to Lumpy in my Discord server. I told her how you see her as the hero of the NIeR story. Let me know in the comments what you guys thought of her performance. Now, let's get into her story. Less than a month before Number 2 and the YoRHa squad were deployed to Earth, we learned about a friend that she made. Her name was Seed. In this video, I'll be using Izumi from Fullmetal Alchemist to represent Seed, because she's a BAMF of a mentor role. Seed was an older model android stationed on the bunker before the Pearl Harbor descent mission. A quick note, Seed was listed as one of the Resistance members in the NIeR stage play from back in 2014, but I'll go into detail more about that later.
One day, while wandering around the bunker, number 2 got lost and stumbled into the experimental ward, where weapons and equipment were being tested. She was nearly hit by one of the experiments, but someone saved her. That person was Seed. Seed was an older model who had been deployed to Earth 3 times. She carried memories of fighting alongside humans many years ago. Over time, she and number 2 began to spend more time together. A2 watched as Seed took herself apart and put herself back together using spare parts. Her model type was no longer in production, so she had to make use with whatever was available. Eventually, Commander White noticed their growing friendship. She belittled number 2, calling her mediocre specimen lacking extraordinary qualities. Number 2 immediately apologized and agreed with the commander, believing herself to be nothing special. But then Seed spoke up. An average model, huh? That's good. A2 was surprised by that response. Seed continued, being average means you have the potential to improve in every way. I guess you could say that's more room for hard work to factor in. You can improve any aspect of yourself through effort and adaptation. You can decide how you want to grow. Number 2 had never thought of it that way before. You see, Seed added, there's a sea of possibilities awaiting, and a person who knows their average is strong. Tragically though, the next day, number 2 learned that Seed had died. Seed left her a final message, questioning her own memories. Had she really fought alongside humans? And if so, what were they fighting for? She didn't want number 2 to end up like her. She wanted her to find a reason to live. In the end, she simply thanked number 2 for the time they spent together. When the message ended, number 2 was frozen in shock. Seed had died due to a failed experiment involving new equipment. Her aging body couldn't handle the blast. Number 2 had wanted to visit her after their mission on Earth, but now that future was gone. Desperate, she begged the commander to see if there was a spare chassis they could transfer Seed's memories into. But Commander White shut her down immediately. This is already a decided matter. We can't fix her. Number 2 collapsed to her knees. The commander was already gone, leaving number 2 alone in an empty hallway, where she cried. YoRHa prototype attacker number 2, even though she was a model specialized for close quarters combat, she felt she was a mediocre soldier. She also didn't like to fight. The fact that she was even selected for the Pearl Harbor descent attack was proof that it was an experimental mission. At the time, she naively believed she was riding a wave of great expectations, or at least that's what she told herself. On December 8th, 11,941, number 2 was deployed to Earth with a mission to destroy the machine lifeform server in Mount Kaala alongside with 15 other YoRHa soldiers. On the way down, all but 4 YoRHa were taken out. The survivors were number 2, number 4, number 16, and number 21. With most of their unit wiped out, number 2 became the next in line to lead the mission. Under these circumstances, the mission was now impossible to continue, so they contacted command to request the retreat. However, they were denied and ordered to proceed. Upon meeting the resistance, they faced some initial challenges. No matter which iteration of the mission you watch or read, one thing always remains consistent. Lily gets infected, and they save her. A2 learned that the resistance had no choice but to kill their infected comrades before they could spread the infection to others. However, with number 21's help, they were able to heal Lily. And over time, they grew to become a family. On the way down to the server, many friends and comrades lost their lives in battle. When they finally reached the server, they confronted the Red Girls, who revealed that everything had been part of YoRHa's plan. Every battle had been predetermined by the commander. Their true purpose was to collect experimental data to create a more refined YoRHa model. In some iterations, they even discovered that command had placed bombs inside of them. If they reach a certain point in the server, or if their life signs were no longer detected, the bombs would detonate. During the battle, number 4 sacrificed herself to destroy the server, leaving number 2 as the only survivor. She vowed never to forget the agony of being unable to save her allies or the pain of losing her family. She swore to destroy the machine life forms.
She had died during that battle. Her old self was buried under the rubble with her comrades.
One significant addition in the anime version of the Pearl Harbor descent mission, Rose was finally able to give each of the YoRHa a name, just as they discussed. She gave number 2 the name Phrygia. If you watch the anime or played the games, you're likely familiar with the Pearl Harbor descent mission, so I'll provide a quick summary of the different iterations. A2 first appeared in the YoRHa stage play, which premiered in 2014 and ran from October 1st to the 5th. Looking back at this play, it's fascinating to see how NIeR Automata evolved from the early concepts. I call this the budget stage play, Since it was created before Yoko Taro started directing these productions, while the play exists within the NIeR Drakengard universe, I consider it similar to Drakengard 2. It exists, but it could also be like Drakengard 3's Route C, where Accord closed off that timeline because it didn't go well. Since there's no available translations for this play, it's easy to write it off. But even without subtitles, you can recognize some of the situations we saw later in the anime and the game. In the years following Automata's release, several stage plays adapted the Pearl Harbor descent mission, including one with a gender bender cast. Unfortunately, none of these plays have official English subtitles, so fans must rely on unofficial translations found online. If you happen to come across more, please let me know. So far, I've only found 2 of them, but there are a total of 5 stage plays. Since I haven't seen them all, I won't pretend like I know everything about the gender bender version. I do know Accord appears in those versions, and in an interview, it was mentioned that the director didn't fully consult Yoko Taro about this decision. All Accord models are canonically female, but Yoko Taro still enjoyed the show despite this change. Like the first play, some of these may exist in their own timeline, as different branches and cycles occur within the NIeR universe. Fortunately, we now have more accessible sources, including the manga and of course the anime, which further explore this mission. I plan on making a video breaking out all the different iterations of the Pearl Harbor descent mission. However, I'm still waiting for the final manga to release, and hopefully in that time, I could track down the remaining stage plays. Now, let's talk about some of the fun theories related to A2 that stem from the Pearl Harbor descent mission. The first theory that comes from the conversation between number 2 and number 4. While speaking with the Resistance about their implanted memories, in the stage play, they discuss how they have a large number of implanted memories that don't seem to be relevant to battle. Number 21 sums it up well. The memories of our past are connected to our hopes for the future. I like that saying. Number 2's memories were about living with her grandmother in the countryside. Warm and peaceful memories. Her parents had passed away early, so she only had her grandmother. She remembered tending to fields every day, feeling the soil and smelling its grass. Many fans immediately associate this with Kaine from NIeR Replicant, which is exactly what I thought when I was reading the novel. Kaine, as we know, lived with her grandmother, though the details vary depending on the timeline. The Gestalt version of Kaine lived in a mansion with her grandmother, a wealthy war veteran from the Legion War. Meanwhile, Replicant Kaine's grandmother lived outside the Eyrie. I personally won't dismiss the possibility that A2's memories could be based off a different version of Kaine. As we know, the NIeR universe consists of cycles, different timelines, and branches, so it's entirely possible. Will it be confirmed? Probably not, but it's a fun idea to consider. They're both badass women after all. The second theory is that number 2 and number 4 cared for each other more than just comrades. It's well established that they all became like a family, but some fans have interpreted their relationship as romantic, especially after the anime's release. While nothing's been confirmed, it's an interesting perspective that has resurfaced. Yoko Taro has repeatedly stated he doesn't like giving definitive answers because he wants the fans to come up with their own theories. I love seeing all the different interpretations people have. Let me know in the comments what are some of your thoughts and theories about A2. One final detail, Yoko Taro confirmed in an interview found in the World Guide Volume 2 that A2 is part of the reason why emotions are prohibited in YoRHa. He explains there are 2 reasons for this. As shown in YoRHa stage play, A2 fled after the descent battle she participated in due to an emotional response. Emotions were deemed unnecessary for operation after the sequence of events that were thus prohibited. Existing units understood that emotions were deemed unnecessary sometimes in the past, but not the actual reason why. The second reason for this is the black boxes installed in the YoRHa. Black box technology was originally taken from the machines, a fact that would be extremely embarrassing to the androids. Due to such shameful origins, the founders of Project YoRHa decided to ban emotions at the plan's outset, forbidding the androids from engaging in the same behavior as noble humanity. There is no direct statements in interviews confirming this, but based on the timeline of events, it's safe to assume that E-type units were created because of A2. Looking at the timeline, 9S and 2B were also created shortly after A2's defection. Additionally, 9S, as we know, played a role in the expedited manufacture of the E-type units. Another strong indication comes from what we learned in the game as well as the novel Long Story Short. A2's personality data was used in the E-type models. The novel explains attacker number 2, who participated in the YoRHa Experimental Squadron's first descent attack, recorded mediocre performance during the simulations phase. Yet, number 2 was a lone survivor from the squadron. After analyzing the saved personal data of number 2, we discovered that number 2 was capable of excellent decision-making under extreme duress. Number 2's personality data was uploaded in the newly constructed Type E models, which will oversee the preservation of the confidentiality of Project YoRHa. A2 also says, the first time I met her, she was called 2E. She was tasked with execution of rogue troops, and we would go on to confront each other multiple times in the future. When I saw her at Forest Castle, she called herself 2B, most likely to keep her identity safe from 9S. It wasn't just 2E that A2 fought. She encountered countless other YoRHa soldiers over the next 4 years. Additionally, in episode 12 of the anime, we see 2 YoRHa units outside the shopping district, and inside looking out is A2. I'm fairly certain these units were after her. At the end of episode 13, she destroys a pod that was watching her, further reinforcing this theory.
That day, after frantically escaping Mount Kala, she removed the bomb in her. She threw away anything that seemed like it could contain location-sensing hardware and left behind almost all her equipment issued by command. She wandered Earth with just her long sword in hand. Destroy as many machines as possible. That was the only thing on her mind.
When she needed repairs or replacements, she scavenged parts from corpses of her pursuers. The parts weren't specified to her chassis, which is why she looked so shoddy, but functionally, there was no problem. I also think she learned this from watching C do repairs on herself as an older android model. In the 2017 concert Memories of Puppets, there is a little story called Beasts of Slaughter, where we learn more about what A2 was up to before the events of the game. She had lost her goals she was fighting for and betrayed by the commander she was supposed to believe in, and yet her life still remained. Because she was a survivor and knew too much, she had to be eliminated. In order to prevent this information from leaking, YoRHa Test Unit Attacker Number 2 was to be destroyed. This line stood out to me. She said, "While praying to those who died, I lost who I was." A2 didn't believe victory would ever come in the war against the machines, but she could never forgive them for what they did to her comrades, so she continued to fight for herself. One day she came across an enemy she never expected to see, 2E. She was shocked to see an identical face to hers, another number 2 model. Were they mass-producing new YoRHa based off of her battle data? 2E stated that she had orders from the Council of Humanity to terminate A2. She also revealed that she was a Type E unit, tasked with eliminating rogue troops. She warned A2 that if she did not cease functioning, 2E would be forced to destroy her. A2 just laughed. YoRHa created units with her face and sent them to kill her to cover up their sins. That's when A2 made her declaration. If you people really are going to try to kill me, if you truly are going to hide the truth, then so be it. I won't show any mercy either. Machine life forms, the bunker, the commander, even the humans on the moon. I'll kill them all. We also got a glimpse into some of her encounters with 9S. He never stayed still long enough for A2 to land a hit. At one point, she even yelled at him to fight her like a man, but instead, he hacked into her. Inside the hacking space, he explained that he had sealed her personal data inside her own head. A black cloud surrounded A2. She stated that he was sent by the Council of Humanity to terminate her. She just saw him as another loyal lapdog to the command. It looked like 9S had the upper hand. She asked him, "What did the command tell you?" 9S replied that all he knew was that A2 was a deserter and he was there to eliminate her. A2 started taunting him. "You couldn't get more information than just that? You scanner models are always curious after all." And of course, he fell for it. 9S immediately took the bait, asking if she was taunting him. Originally, he had developed this barrier just to detain her, but now he was going to destroy her data instead. He promised to make her regret talking to him like that. He issued the command to erase her, but instead, the black cloud surrounding A2 turned on him, a counter-type logic barrier. Shocked, 9S asked, "How did you do this?" "To simply put, I got it from you," she replied. She explained that this was the 4th time that they had met. At first, fighting 9S had been difficult, but after facing him so many times, she became aware of the scanner model's habits. They all fought with different patterns, but in the end, they always tried to detain her by hacking. The first time he hacked her, it had been a close call, but after the second time, she learned how to block it with a barrier. She had deployed this program just for him, as a form of insurance. He tried to escape, but he couldn't. He screamed, and after his screams faded, she said, "This is the 4th time I've heard you scream like that. You should pray we don't meet again." Well, damn. That's hot. Fast forward to the events of NIeR Automata, and A2 is now in the Forest Kingdom, there to eliminate the king of the machine life forms. From A2's point of view in the long story short novel, she reflects that if she had comrades, she might have been able to fight more efficiently, but there was no point in thinking about that now. Fighting alone was inefficient, but it had its benefits. Nobody could betray her, she couldn't receive intel, but also wouldn't be fed false intel and sent on a wild goose chase. She didn't have to suspect anyone. She didn't have to decide who was an enemy and who was a comrade. Depending on how you looked at it, it was liberating. It was simple. The rest of the world was her enemy. She noticed 2E and 9S walking through the Forest Kingdom, but something stood out to her. 2B, not Type E? Then they might not be captors, but simply androids deployed to destroy the machines. She quietly crossed the bridge while they were fighting and headed towards the castle. A2 thought, so they were deployed again. How many times would I have to send them back before they gave up? I was fed up with them. I thought it was awfully distasteful to send an execution model that used my battle data, but perhaps command was just stupid. When she jumped down to destroy the king, she turned to face 9S and 2E. Her suspicions were confirmed. They didn't recognize her face. Their pods kept announcing a recommendation to destroy her. Their complete opposite reactions made the situation almost comical. 9S hesitated to fight her. Meanwhile, 2B's thoughts were, I had no memories of ever encountering her before, but for some reason, I could feel deep discomfort rise within me. A2, on the other hand, saw it differently. Number 2 was ready to fight. Fine. So was she. I would beat her down as many times as she wanted. Then all of a sudden, A2 heard a voice from the pods. Those damn boxes she never wanted to hear from again. A message from 2B and 9S from the bunker.
We've picked up a signal from the black box of a fugitive known as A2. What you see in front of you is your enemy.
But She
deserted us. She's destroyed multiple pursuit androids. Now kill her before she kills you.
The next line, one of my favorites from this novel. It's true, I've killed both of you many times. Her Highness the Commander's words were misleading, but they weren't wrong. They held some truth. In the anime, this scene plays out a little bit differently. A2 spots Pascal and immediately goes for the attack, prompting 2B and 9S to defend him. She also noticed something else. 9S actions and reactions were different this time. Now that she thought about it, 2B was acting differently too. Something was missing. If A2 had to describe it, it was as if 2B had lost certain vitality, like she had given up and was just going through the motions. And then A2 realized, oh, that's right. That's me. Number 2, who had the same face as me, was just making the same expressions as me. A2 stopped attacking. She told herself that this was enough. In episode 7, during the fight between 2B and A2, A2's sword broke. There are 2 possible explanations for this. A2 just uses whatever weapons and materials she can scavenge from the fallen YoRHa units. Her sword was probably well worn from fighting machines and YoRHa alike. So when a new sword collided with an old battle-worn sword, which one's gonna win? The newer one. 2, A2 and 2B are just too damn strong, and the sheer force of their clash broke the sword. She then distanced herself from 2B and 9S, jumping towards the window. Behind her, she heard 9S's voice.
Why? Why did you betray us?
She had no obligation to answer, but she couldn't ignore it. With her back still turned, she said,
Command is the one that betrayed you.
She didn't know what kind of face 9S made, nor did she want to know. She jumped out of the window, and we wouldn't see her again for a while. Just a small note here. This is how the novel describes it, but in the game and the anime, she actually faces them when she speaks, which, let's be real, makes more sense. If her back was turned, they probably wouldn't have heard her. Now, about that interview with Yoko Taro around the time the game launched. He mentioned that E-type units are the strongest. Personally, I take interviews like this with a grain of salt, especially since how he had to keep his answers short. Because let's be honest, this statement already contradicts everything else we know, like the fact that A2 repeatedly beat 2E. But I don't think it's a complete contradiction. For now, I'll take it as this. Sure, E-types should be the strongest overall since they're designed to take down traitors. That's their whole job. But the world isn't that simple. There's just the A2 factor. And that would take way too long to unpack. Also, let's be real, Yoko Taro sometimes just makes things up as he goes. The next time we see A2 is at the end of episode 15, watching from Earth as the bunker explodes. In the novel, it explained that A2 had also been fighting infected YoRHa units, By this point, she was used to fighting YoRHa models. But the situation confused her. She had never been surrounded by this many at once. Regardless, infected or not, large numbers or not, she had one job. She no longer had any earthbound comrades. That's why, as soon as she encountered someone, she destroyed them without hesitation. That's what she's always done. Fast forward a bit. 2B, now infected, makes her way to the shopping center. Attacked by infected YoRHa, she's moments away from being overwhelmed when A2 jumps in. In the game, this is the first time you play as A2, fighting off a swarm of infected. But in the anime, I thought it was even cooler. In episode 16, there were only 2 infected units. And man, A2 took them out brutally. She doesn't hold back, wielding her Type 40 large sword. At one point, she nearly cleaves an infected in half, but the attack doesn't fully go through. A2 looks slightly annoyed, but it doesn't slow her down. This moment really highlights her quick decision making. At first, A2 was prepared to fight 2B as well, but to her surprise, no fight was coming. She quickly realized she didn't need to confront her. 2B had already been infected. When 2B put her sword in the ground and said, "These are my memories," A2 didn't know what she meant. She just assumed that it meant 2B had no intentions of fighting. Then 2B made a request. Please take care of everyone and the future. A2 knew this was the number 2 she met in the Forest Kingdom, and yet she was asking her for a favor? Of all people, she chose A2, her enemy. A2 had no obligation to listen, but she couldn't refuse. She had killed infected comrades with her own hands. She couldn't ignore this request, because of her own comrades had once asked the same thing of her. There was no way 2B could have known, but the desperate way she choked out those words, it was the exact same as the last comrade A2 had to kill. After A2 agreed, 2B's expression melted into a wholehearted satisfaction. Then A2 pulled out her sword, and at that moment she understood what 2B had meant when she said, "These are my memories." This technology hadn't existed back when A2 first went to Earth, but the weapon issued to modern YoRHa units could store memories. She had heard about this kind of weapon being developed, inspired by the fact that humans' memories weren't just stored in the brain. Now, through the sword, A2 saw everything 2B had seen. She had heard everything 2B had heard. She had felt the pain 2B had felt. The memories contained no thoughts, no emotion, just pure sensory experience. A2 didn't know what 2B had felt during those moments, but she saw everything she had lived through. Then, within those memories, A2 recognized a name that filled her with nostalgia. Anemone. Anemone from the Pearl Harbor mission. She was alive. That was enough for A2 to feel gratified to 2B, and in return, she would grant her dying wish. Now in the anime, since we got Lily instead of Anemone, I'd imagine the same thing happened, just with Lily in Anemone's place. A2 accepted all of it, her memories, her wishes. Then A2 killed 2B. She heard 2B's final words.
Night.
She turned back, grinned, and died. A2 then took the very sword she had impaled 2B with and cut her own hair, as a testament to accepting her memories and wishes, a tribute to the deceased, my doppelganger. From now on, I'll live in your image. That's the best I can do. Then the tower emerged from the ground. 2B's body, 9S, and A2 all disappeared. Anemone was a member of the Resistance who took part in the Pearl Harbor descent mission alongside A2 and the others. In the stage play in the manga, she looks very different compared to her in-game appearance. The last time we saw her during the mission was after number 21 got infected. Number 21 had been tasked with ensuring that the elevator transported number 2 and the rest of the team safely down to the server. Once they reached their destination, Anemone was the one who had to take out number 21 because she was infected. That scene was heavy. I bawled like a baby for over 10 minutes watching the stage play. Then the manga version came out and it hit just as hard. When A2 regained consciousness, I love reading about her perspective in that moment. She opened her eyes to the sound of what she calls the rectangle box greeting her. She remembers this talking box from when she saw 2B and 9S at the Forest Kingdom. Here's the quote. It had transmitted the revolting voice. That woman who said whatever she wanted about how I was a traitor, about how I was a dangerous android. Just thinking about that annoyed her. She planned to ignore the pod entirely, but as we know, that plan didn't go so well. A2 did end up asking pod where 2B and 9S were, but it only responded, unable to answer. At this point in the game, A2 travels to the desert to fight Hegel, and is in dire need of a fuel filter replacement. The pod recommends going to the Resistance to get one. In the anime, however, she ends up in Pascal's village instead, since Pascal saved her after the fall. Now, I want to compare both versions of getting the fuel filter and reuniting with Anemone and Lily. When it comes to Anemone, A2 thought to herself, she had died during that battle. She was no longer her old self. Even with the information that Anemone was alive, she never went out of her way to contact her. She didn't know what she'd do if they met again, but now she had the perfect excuse, the fuel filter. That gave her a reason to go talk to her. Then came the part that really struck a chord with me.
She walked, kicking sand as she went. She called out her comrades' names in her head, but she felt nothing. She was empty inside.
When A2 finally reunited with Anemone, she thought about she had spent so long living with the guilt of being the only survivor. Anemone had likely felt the same. That day, they had both lost comrades, one by one. At that point, they had been fighting separately and must have assumed that no one else survived. Then A2 put 2 and 2 together. Anemone didn't know the truth about the mission. Command had sent them there to die. A2 figured it was probably best to keep the truth buried. Anemone would never forgive Command. Their conversation shifted to 2B. A2 explained that 2B had died, and that she was the one who had to kill her, because 2B had been infected with the virus. Here are A2's thoughts during this conversation. Anemone fell silent. She was being considerate, and I was grateful. Anemone and I had both executed comrades infected by logic virus, to minimize their misery and allow them to die while they were still in control of their consciousness. That was why we killed them. There were no words that could console us. A2 then explained that she needed a new fill filter, and Anemone directed her to Pascal, saying he could help. I know I jumped ahead a bit, but right before A2 meets Anemone, she encounters Pascal, who was being attacked by other machines. Normally, A2 would just salvage old parts from YoRHa soldiers, but with all of them infected, she didn't want to risk getting infected herself. At that moment, A2 was ready to kill Pascal. She was furious, enraged at the machines that had slaughtered her comrades. The anger was so overwhelming that she couldn't restrain herself from destroying them. She was fully prepared to kill Pascal on sight, and Pascal was ready to accept death. But his response threw A2 off. Pascal was surprisingly sophisticated. He even gave her a slight bow, fully expecting to die at her hands. But then, an unsettling feeling washed over A2. She hesitated. For some reason, she let him go. And when Pascal thanked her, that threw her off even more. A machine thanked me? She was frustrated with herself, furious that she had let a machine walk away. A2 then explained the pain that she was in without a functioning fuel filter. My joints were stiff and difficult to move. As a result, I was drained from merely walking. My head hurt too. At first, it was just a dull pain at the left temple, but eventually it spread to the back and the top of my head. The pain grew to the point where it throbbed, like a jagged piece of metal twisted into my skull. Since the anime takes a slightly different approach, I want to dive into the relationship between A2 and the machines from Pascal's village. After the tower emerged, A2 woke up in Pascal's village. Her natural reaction? Kill Pascal. She even threw her sword at him. Thanks to some insight into her thoughts, we could tell she either missed unintentionally or intentionally because Pascal approached her with a white flag. Pod quickly stepped in to explain that Pascal had actually saved A2. Pascal then explained that after the tower appeared, he and the villagers went to investigate. That's when he found A2, and not wanting to leave her in a dangerous area, brought her back to the village. Pod further clarified that the village was full of pacifists who would not attack A2. In both the anime and the game, A2 walks around the village, and in the game, you can even complete a couple of side quests for the machines. But I really want to highlight the conversation between A2 and Pod. A2 asks what happened to the bunker. Pod explains that the bunker self-destructed after being infected by the virus. So at this point, we can assume that all YoRHa soldiers are terminated. A2 makes one thing very clear. Her goal is to slaughter all machine life forms. But looking at her reaction, did she hate the commander? Did she kill many YoRHa soldiers? Of course. But I don't think even she wanted all the YoRHa to be wiped out. A2 never went out of her way to hunt down YoRHa. She only fought those that came after her. Back to the story, Pod immediately calls out A2. Why isn't she attacking the village if she's so set on destroying the machines? A2 responds that she owes them for saving her and will spare them, but only this once. Pod then immediately tells her that she needs maintenance before leaving, but A2, being A2, refuses and insists on heading out immediately. And we even get my new favorite moment from the show.
Request. Immediate.
Shut the hell up already!
and then she continues to head out. Well, that doesn't go as planned. She passes out before she can leave. When A2 arrives at Pascal's village in the game, she takes one look at it and just can't get herself riled up to destroy them. She doesn't even want to draw her sword. She tells herself it's because she isn't feeling well. Yeah, sure. My money's on that being a lie. Pod suggests that she tries befriending the machines. A2, of course, has zero interest in that. But she's in a desperate situation and needs a new fuel filter. After they help her get one, she promises Pascal she'll return the favor if they need anything, because she definitely does not want to be indebted to machines. And so, the cycle begins. Pascal asks for her help, A2 helps, Pascal gives her something in return. Now A2 feels indebted. Again. Rinse, cycle, and repeat. This is so hilarious to me. She's basically stuck in an endless favor trading loop with a bunch of peaceful machines. Then we start seeing the same thing in the anime as in the game. The machine children start getting attached to A2. At one point, she wakes up completely unable to move. Why? Her fuel filter needs to be replaced. So naturally, the little machines take it upon themselves to fix her. This is where things get adorable. They looked up how to treat a cold, thinking that would somehow fix A2. Spoiler, it didn't work, because, she doesn't have a cold. As she continues talking to Pascal, she learns more and more about the village. Pascal even points out that A2 isn't going to harm them because of her strong sense of duty. At some point, the children even wheel her around in a cart. As A2 talks to them, she starts reflecting. Her entire purpose had been to destroy machine life forms. Or at least, that's what she thought. What really stood out to me in the anime was how her relationship with Pod developed. And the moment the children started calling A2 Big Sis, that hit differently. Being called Big Sis triggered something in A2. She started remembering her time with the Resistance, the family she once had. She never really understood why soldiers called each other sister, but she recalled Lily calling another Resistance member Big Sis. As the little machines clung to her arms and legs, she felt something peculiar. She imagined the smiling faces of her comrades, the Resistance, her family. Huge shout out to the anime creators for giving us so much more A2's relationship with the machines. It was hilarious at times and super stinking cute. A2 tries to deny it, keeping up the tough front. But let's be real, she cares about both of them. And that's what makes it so heart-wrenching later on. Let's dive into A2's reunion with Lily. A quick explanation on who Lily is. Lily was part of the Pearl Harbor descent mission as well. She was a member of the Resistance and survived because Rose sent her away before the server was destroyed. Rose told her that to honor the memories of her friends, she needed to live. A small pet peeve of mine, I really wish both Lily and Anemone had received more attention in the game or anime. Lily in particular was infected with the logic virus, and when they healed her, she gained the ability Gravity Wave. But they didn't show it in the anime. Such a missed opportunity. But that's a rant for another video. Lily eventually makes her way to Pascal's village and reunites with A2. She notices A2's voice has changed, but can still tell it's the same number 2. Huge shout out to the Japanese and English voice actress for A2. For the English voice actress, Cherami Leigh, when I first played NIeR Automata and even Cyberpunk, I didn't even realize that was her. Her range is seriously impressive. Lily takes A2 back to the Resistance camp, where Devil and Popola help treat her. Thanks to their care, A2 is now able to move again. At this point, Lily has become the leader of the Resistance. At least, the Resistance that we're aware of. A2 asks if there are any other survivors, but Lily doesn't know. She adds if anyone knew, it would have been A2. A2 is shocked to learn that the fuel filter came from the machine village. An enemy had pointed out that she wouldn't attack enemies who came at her with white flags. And Lily mentions that, although she hates machines, as a leader, she had to put her personal hatred aside. Lily also points out that A2 isn't one to talk since the machine children are clearly warming up to her. She adds that A2 may have changed physically, but her heart hasn't changed one bit. In the second box set of the anime, there's a drama CD called Fatal Error Letter. It's only in Japanese, but someone translated it on YouTube and added the English captions. I'll drop a link in my description if anyone wants to listen. In this story, A2 goes to the Resistance camp and Lily asks her to deliver a letter to the mailbox. Turns out, Lily has a pen pal, a machine. She and this machine have been writing back and forth, a habit that number 21 taught her. Lily asks A2 to deliver the letter, and when A2 arrives at the mailbox, Pascal greets her. Pascal explains that he's there to collect the letter from the box. A2, curious about who Lily has been writing to, finds out it's actually a giant machine life form who had fallen in love with Lily. Pascal and A2 discuss whether Lily should know who she's been writing to, and they decide to keep it a secret for now. The Resistance camp is attacked by machine life forms, and A2 comes back to assist. But she's not alone. The giant machine has been writing to Lily, comes to her aid as well. The machine promises to Lily that he's there to help her, and though the Resistance is hesitant to trust him, the machine says, if I make any strange movements, feel free to attack me. After he protects Lily, acting as her umbrella, the battle ends, but unfortunately the giant machine is infected. Lily is the one to put him out of his misery. Later, A2 finds a machine. He says, if androids and machines are destined to hate each other, I'm glad I got to meet my end by the hands of the one that I loved. He goes on to say that he thought Lily would be a flower girl, but she ended up being so much braver and more powerful than he imagined, and much sweeter. A2 offers to give Lily a message, but the machine system shuts down before he can say more. Pascal eventually finds A2 and the fallen machine. Pascal says he'll remember the giant machine life form. That's the least I can do for him. He adds that it would be tragic to die without being remembered by anyone. If they're remembered, they continue to live on in the memories of those who remain. Pascal believes this deeply. A2 says there's no way she could ever forget. Pod asks, are you talking about 2B? The one stored in your memory? A2 responds, not just 2B. Pascal hands A2 a letter. It's from Lily. The letter includes memories from Pearl Harbor descent and stories about her former companions. Lily also shared her thoughts on number 4, 16, and 21. At the end of the letter, Lily writes, thank you for staying alive, number 2. Pod offers to help send letters to anyone A2 wants to contact, but A2 says she has no one left to send letters to. She even thanks Pod for the offer. In the game, an enemy gives A2 access to the reports she kept on the Pearl Harbor descent mission. A2 reads the events from an enemy's perspective, and both of them come to the same conclusion. They'll never forget their family. With A2's new relationship with the machines, we can see she's grown fond of them. And not just the machines, but also Pod. Unfortunately, in both the game and the anime, Pascal's village is attacked by machines. Let me go ahead and explain A2's point of view from the game in this moment. A2 gets a call from Pascal, telling her that machines are attacking Pascal's village. When A2 arrives, she's shocked to find machines were eating each other. The villagers were turning on one another. A2 finds Pascal, who says the children are safe in hiding. A2 tells Pascal to run, and she'll handle things here. A2 begins to destroy the machines one by one. These were villagers who, until just a little while ago, had been shopping, gossiping, and living their lives peacefully. Even though they had gone mad, these machines that had lost the means to confront powerful enemies, it didn't take A2 long to destroy them. But it was too late to save the villagers who had been preyed upon. They were already non-functional. A2 and Pascal meet up after the battle at the factory. The children were unharmed, but A2 struggles to tell Pascal that he was unable to save the villagers because she knew how it felt to lose comrades. Pascal also confirms that if the machine cores were destroyed, their personal data is gone, similar to the YoRHa androids. Then, more machines begin attacking the factory. A2 quickly realizes there are too many of them and that she and Pod aren't enough. She feels a familiar sense of helplessness and despair wash over her. But then Pascal intervenes, saying, Miss A2, I'll handle these enemies. Pascal, riding one of the giant machines, takes out a wave of enemies. He has to protect the children. When A2 and Pascal go back inside, they find the unimaginable sight. The children lying on the floor, motionless. A2 asks what happened and why did this happen. Pascal explains that he taught them fear. Without it, they would have died recklessly. A2 thinks they probably heard the sounds of the battle and couldn't bear the terror, so they chose death to escape it. She believes Pascal was wrong in teaching them fear. He should have taught them fear of death. Humans were the ones who designed androids, and they were aware of the fear of death. That's why androids are programmed with the inherent fear of it. Without that awareness, as Pascal had said, androids would have been prone to dying recklessly by their own hands. A2 thinks Pascal didn't understand the fear of death. It was tough for him to teach the children an emotion he himself had never experienced. She bluntly states that not teaching them the fear of death is what caused this tragedy. Pascal then begs A2 to either erase his memories or kill him because he can't endure this pain. A2 understands this better than anyone and directs Pod to erase Pascal's memories. After the process is complete, Pod sets a reboot timer, allowing A2 to leave while Pascal is still sleeping. With his memories erased, Pascal will likely be confused when he sees A2 again. A2 asks Pod why this happened, but he's unsure. In the anime, A2 is running errands for Lily after Lily guilt trips her into returning to Pascal's village. The children want to play with A2, and look at the cute little machine attached to her leg. A2 is forced to play with the children while Pascal gathers the materials for her. Once Pascal is done gathering the materials, he pulls a sneaky trick on A2 to make her play with the children. This was one of my personal favorite moments from this series.
Okay, I see now. You did this so I would play with the children.
A machine life form like me would never do something so mischievous like that.
Damn you!
Pod informs them that multiple hostile machines are heading towards Pascal's village. What's cute is that at one point, the children machine approaches A2 to make sure she isn't hurt again. A2 and Pascal prepare for battle, weapons in hand, ready to protect the village. A moment occurs when A2 looks at her weapon. Let me know in the comments what you think was going through her head here. To me, it seems like she was reflecting on the fact that she's switching from being a destroyer to a protector. Looking at 2B's sword also reminds her of things entrusted to her. For the last 4 years, she spent every moment destroying the machines, but now she's back to protecting things she cares about. Pascal tells A2 that after doing some scouting, he needs to go get better equipment for what's coming. He asks A2 to watch over everyone while he's gone. A2 had previously gotten them all armed and ready for this battle. A2 and Pod take on the large enemies, while the Lance Squad protects the rest of the villagers. A2 noticed that each unit they destroyed isn't very powerful on its own. The machines don't have a leader, they're simply repeating basic attack patterns. When the barricade is destroyed, A2 starts to say, "I'm coming, guys," but then she pauses for a moment and says, "I'm helping out the machine life forms?" Frustrated, she continues helping them. Pascal returns with some serious firepower and annihilates all the machines. After the battle, the machines celebrate their victory. A2 smiles, but then Pod ruins the moment, asking her to show some gratitude. A2 admits that Pod ruined the mood when she was in her feelings. Pod asks what that means, and A2 doesn't really know how to explain it. But as she continues to watch the celebration, a smile crosses her face, and she says, "However, these feelings don't feel too bad." The villagers celebrate, and the children come to thank A2. They continue to call her Big Sis, and A2 says she's glad they're all okay. She even shares a laugh with them. But then, a surprise attack from above occurs. Machine life forms drop bombs onto Pascal's village. A2 tries to tell everyone to run, but she's knocked unconscious, and Pod protects her. We see the villagers being killed one by one. When A2 wakes up, she finds the village ablaze, and the villagers dead.
Damn it!
Feeling the pain of losing those she cared about once again. But then she heard Pascal's voice. She's relieved to see Pascal is still alive, and she finds the children are also safe. More hostile machines are heading to the village. A2 tells Pascal to take the children to the resistance camp, and assures him she'll meet them there. With the children gone, A2 can take care of the hostile machines without holding back. After she annihilates them all, a Goliath-sized machine heads towards the resistance camp. A2 makes a beeline for the Goliath. Pod warns her that she's taken damage from previous battle, and facing the Goliath will be difficult. A2 appreciates Pod's concern, but she tells him,
So suck it! Remember that!
A2 releases the limiter and uses what Pod describes as B mode or Berserker mode, a power that looks similar to the Intoner mode in Drakengard 3. This mode was removed from newer models due to its danger, so any models that came after A2 no longer have access to it. Berserker mode grants A2 incredible strength, allowing her to block the Goliath's attack and destroy its arm. During the battle, A2 and Pod's relationship grows. Pod warns her she's pushing past her limits and needs to finish quickly. A2 even comments that it sounds like he's cheering her on. She tries to finish the fight, but the Goliath lands a blow, and another Goliath joins the fight. To A2's surprise, Pascal took over the second Goliath to help her. Pascal informs A2 that because of her, all the children are safe and have been evacuated. A2 smiles at this. After the battle, A2 is knocked out. When she comes to, Pascal has defeated the Goliath. They receive a transmission from Lily, telling them that the resistance is under attack. Pascal and A2 fly back to the resistance camp as fast as they can. When A2 arrives, she finds Lily infected. A2 says that they should treat it, but Lily replies that it's too late. Lily confirms that the children are the cause of the infection. While Pascal leaves to check on the children, A2 runs to help Lily, but Lily yells at her to stop and leave before she loses control. A2 tells Lily that Rose gave her the name Phrygia before she died. A2 picks up Lily's gun, the weapon Rose had given to her. Lily says, "You know, we really did become a family." With a smile on her face, Lily tells A2,
Thank you, Phrygia.
Then there's a gunshot. A2 hears an explosion and sees the machine lifeform parts flying everywhere. Pod confirms that Pascal's unit life ID signal has been lost. A2 stands there in silence. Her new family has been lost. She adjusts Lily's body to lay her to rest, then places a flower on her. In this moment for me, it was a less is more situation. A2's silence speaks volume, and as a viewer, I found myself in silence too. What about you? What were your thoughts during this moment? A2 then hears a voice from the tower. It sounds childish, and she thought it seemed like they were poking fun at them. The villagers going on a rampage, and the appearance of the massive unit happening around the same time was probably not a coincidence. Pod's hypothesis was that there was some kind of virus infecting the villagers. Originally, machines were created by aliens as weapons of mass destruction. It was hypocritical for weapons to dislike fighting and love peace. In the world of machines, Pascal and the village were the outliers. The more they deviated from machines' hardwired purpose, the farther they operated from their natural instincts. Could that gap have been the reason for the virus? And had the appearance of the massive structure acted as a catalyst? In the end, this was just speculation. It was A2's hypothesis. That's why she was going to confirm it. A2 travels to the amusement park and finds one of the resource units. She sees nothing but dead machine lifeforms everywhere. Some were still warm. She could tell they were clearly attacked after the machine stopped functioning. She ran to the top floor to find 2 YoRHa units fighting. One was infected with the logic virus, and the other was 9S. She could tell the fight had been going on for some time. She notices that one blow from 9S sent the infected YoRHa to the ground. 9S probably thought that he had defeated her. A2 thought that was naive. Moments like this give way to opportunity. Just as she thought, the infected YoRHa slashed at 9S, but she noticed that while it attacked, it was vulnerable. She didn't miss this chance. A2 stabbed her in the back with her sword. She couldn't let 9S be killed. 2B wouldn't have wanted that. Of the favors 2B had passed on to A2, protecting 9S was one of them. Once the infected YoRHa fell to the floor, A2 made sure it was inoperable by destroying its black box. She could see 9S glaring at her, his malice overflowing. She walked past him and told him 2B wanted him to become a good person. He then attacked A2, but the structure crumbled beneath 9S and he fell. A2 was then attacked by a machine life form. Pod asked why she cared about 9S, but we know it was part of 2B's wish. When A2 destroyed the machine, a bunch of other machines appeared, all kneeling and repeatedly saying, "Big brother." A2 destroyed them all in that moment. On the way to the tower, A2 runs into the twin androids from the resistance camp. In the game, she finds them collapsed side by side at the entrance of the tower. A2 wasn't able to detect Popola's signal, and Devola's signal was so weak she was on the verge of dying. A2 called out to Devola a few times. Devola finally opened her eyes and said, "Oh, it's you, A2. We've left the tower open for you." A2 couldn't bring herself to ask what happened. Looking at her surroundings, it was easy to guess. They confirmed 9S went ahead, and A2 felt a bit of relief. When Devola asked, "Hey, did we do good?" A2 gave her a nod. Devola closed her eyes with a look of satisfaction, and then her signal disappeared. In the anime, A2 finds them, and we see Devola holding onto her sister. Devola asks a similar question. Did we manage to help? This time though, Devola is infected, and seeing A2 just stand there is heavy. Especially after she had to just kill Lily because Lily was infected. A2 confirms that they were helpful, and Devola smiles. A2 then gives Devola a mercy kill. When A2 enters the tower, she comes across a room that mimics a library. A2 hacks into these books to read some of the material. She wonders why androids never learned about these books in the past, but she figures it was probably deemed unnecessary. A2 comes across records of an epidemic that plagued human civilization. I wonder what that could have been. A2 believed the tower was being used as some kind of information collective device. With all this information, A2 wonders what they had planned to do with it. It looks like they are creating a projectile of memories. A2 realizes they plan to launch this projectile of memories, and her theory is that they were going to launch it at the moon server. She wasn't sure if that was true, but the machines were playing games with the androids. Sadly, she and her friends learned that the hard way. The human server serves as a cornerstone of the android's morale. She didn't think it was possible because she had heard it was hard to pinpoint the exact location of the server, but she quickly realizes it would be possible because they had so much information from the Pearl Harbor descent mission. If they had that kind of information back then, they could certainly find out where the server is now. As she comes across more records, she learns that the machines are already inside the server. Realistically, they could have destroyed the server from the inside, but they wanted to make a show of it and destroy it for all androids to see. They want to ingrain that image into the memory of every single android on Earth. A2 has a new mission, to destroy this tower. She was not going to let these machines take anything else. As if to mock her resolve, another title catches her attention. Operational Summary of Model Number 2 in Project YoRHa. She wonders if the machine left this for her or 9S. After the first descent of the YoRHa prototypes, Attacker 2 was the sole unit to return alive. Despite mediocre results during her simulation, upon analysis of her stored personality data, it was discovered she possesses excellent analytical and decision-making skills in extreme circumstances. As reported separately, we will install this personality data in the new lot of E models and use them for security protection of this project. A2 immediately thinks about 2E. She was tasked with execution of rogue androids, and they would go to confront each other multiple times in the future. When A2 saw her at the Forest Castle, she called herself 2B, most likely to keep her identity safe from 9S. When 9S, a highly specialized model, uncovered the truth about Project YoRHa, he was immediately executed by 2E, the overseer of confidentiality. But 9S's ability were so keen that it was necessary to use a disguise. That's why 2E approached 9S as 2B. This information had been stored in 2B's sword. She wonders if 9S already learned the truth about 2B. Now in the anime, we see A2 quickly learns the truth about the tower is a cannon, and the humans are extinct. She finds records about Project YoRHa and the E-type models. A2 says she had a feeling most of this was true, but now she has confirmation that it is. Shortly after her battle with Koshi, A2 is hacked. She tries to escape, but can't get out. And then she's confronted by the Red Girls. They talk to her like long-lost friends who haven't seen each other in years. These Red Girls have no concept of time and space. They have no physical presence, and they can invade any system, anytime, anywhere. A2 comes to the conclusion that they probably hacked Command and the server on the moon. A2 begins swinging her sword at them. They mock her because they've told her before that she can't kill them. A2 knows this, but she can't help attacking. They were the reason she discovered the experimental purpose her and her squad served. Maybe if she hadn't found out, she could have died back then, waiting for her orders from the commander. No matter how much she swings her sword, nothing works. Now in the anime, the Red Girls confront her and give her the same conversation. Just one part stuck out to me. When A2 tries to attack them, they tell her that
your attacks against us are meaningless, just as your existence is meaningless.
Well, they can just go to hell, is what I say to that. Pod is able to hack into the Red Girls' network, and they end up taking each other out. A2 points out that they're acting like humans. I'm not going to go into what happened to the Red Girls here, because this video isn't about them. If you would like to know more about what happened to them, let me know in the comments. Koshi and Roshi are still around, and the battle leads A2 to the top of the tower, where 9S is also fighting these same machines. After the battle, 9S raises his sword to A2, but she won't take a fighting stance. She tells him that this tower is a cannon aimed at the human server on the moon. She says that humanity's data will be destroyed. He shares with A2 that humanity is gone, and he talks about how he, 2B, and the commander were all sacrificial lambs. And my quick commentary on this moment, looking at this scene in the anime and seeing their faces versus the game's side view, I thought it hit a little bit harder, especially looking at A2's face when he talks about them being sacrificial lambs. We finally saw in the anime her losing her family and getting names. It's a heavy scene for both of them. What did you all think of this moment? A2 tries to tell him that it caused 2B so much pain to kill him over and over again. She explains that 2B was actually an E-type unit and was assigned to him because he was a high-class S-type unit. To keep him from learning the truth, she would kill 9S over and over again. 9S yells at 2B to shut up. He won't listen anymore, and A2 sees his infection is spreading as his eyes glows red. A2 finally raises her sword and prepares to fight. Now in the anime version, A2's thoughts are about her dear family.
And my dear family, who protected me to the end. Until the day my sin is forgiven, I'll continue to fight! That's why this world must be Saved!
She carries survivor's guilt, and that is the sin she is dealing with. She and 9S fight, and his infection is spreading. She activates Berserker mode and tries to reason with 9S to get him to seek treatment for the infection. He doesn't care to listen. With Pod's help in the battle, A2 gains the upper hand on 9S and cuts off his arm. When A2 sees the amount of damage he has from the infection, she drops her guard, and 9S hacks into her. He starts looking through her memories of her family. Because she used Berserker mode, her logic barrier will not activate, which is how 9S got in. 9S then starts showing A2 her family and says they all died because of the useless captain she was. It's all her fault. But while this is happening and A2 drops to her knees, 9S begins to falter. He starts saying there is no reason for them to live and begins begging for help. In that darkness, A2 sees a light. It is her black box, but it is white. She hears number 4 telling her to live on without them, and she remembers her meaning of life. We hear the conversation she had with Rose, where she says her meaning of life is to protect everyone, because she wants them all to stay together. A2 then says, "I'm sorry," and that she's not alone anymore. Holding the light closer to her chest, she gets up. She admits she was never equipped to be a leader, but she has been entrusted with a purpose. Her reason to live is to protect this world, the one she met everyone in, and the memories her family left with her. She apologizes to 9S and says she's never been one to give up. Pod is able to find the gap in the defense and reach A2. A2 is now able to break free. Now let's get into the different endings. Let's start with ending C. A2 defeats 9S, slicing off his arm that was causing the infection. She then hacks into him, planning to repair 9S's logic circuits. Once she reaches him, she tells Pod to take him out of the tower. A2 sacrifices herself to remove the virus and destroy the tower. Then we hear her talk about how beautiful the world is, telling her family that she is coming. Finally, we see her fall as the tower collapses. Now ending D, A2 has the upper hand in this battle as well. It's no surprise. She's an attacker type model, who has been in combat for the last 4 years and has fought 9S multiple times. In the novel, 9S even acknowledges this, noting how she's able to dodge his attacks. It seems like she knows what he's going to do before he even does it. During this battle, 9S raises the question of why seek out humans. A2 replies that they were androids created to protect their creators. When A2 knocked him down and prepares for the final blow, she stops and simply says, "To be." Then 9S goes in for the kill, and they both fall to the ground. Back in the anime, after A2 breaks free from 9S's hacking, they end up in the memory realm, as Pod describes it. They come across 9S's core memories. The red girl appears before A2 and says they do not want to fight her. Originally, the tower was a cannon aimed at the moon server, but they have since changed their minds. They also ponder the meaning of life and have come to a different conclusion. Instead of destruction, they plan to head into space. The cannon has been repurposed into an arc, and they intend to put their memories in the arc and travel through space. They invite A2 to join them. A2 wonders, who am I fighting for? Who am I living for at this point? She orders Pod to fix 9S's circuits, but he is unable to cure 9S of the virus. She tells Pod not to worry, she will take care of it herself. A2 asks Pod to look after 9S. We then see the same scene as in ending C. A2 looks up the sky and reflects about how beautiful the world is. She tells her family that she is coming, and as the arc takes off, she falls with the tower. In the final ending of the game, after we hear Pod talk about the cycles,
then won't that simply lead us to the same conclusion as before?
I cannot deny the possibility. However, the possibility of a different future also exists. A future is not given to you. It is something you must take for yourself.
we see 2B and 9S. Then we see A2 in the window, lying there, though it's unclear if she's alive or not. In the anime version, the story shifts from the end of YoRHa to Alternative Eden. This time, instead of A2 being in the window, we only see her Type 40 sword. Instead, we get a brief glimpse of a cord winking at the screen, and the camera moves to reveal A2 lying there next to a lunar tear. To understand why we have these different endings, Yoko Taro drew inspiration from the philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche. I thought the guys at YiseCrack summed this up perfectly, better than I could ever explain this idea. So here is a clip from their video explaining this.
According to Nietzsche, cycles dispel the myth of progress. Progress only makes sense if you have a clear aim and if you're cool staying on a path that someone else laid out for you. But Nietzsche hates that notion of progress. Instead, we should be critical of claims to progress that rely on external meaning or our unquestioned notions of right and wrong. The cycles in Automata disrupt this false idea of progress and meaning, not only within the game universe, but also for the player. In Automata, there is no clear goal, or rather, goals change throughout the game, and the whole point is that none of the characters are on a predetermined path. Plus, there's no straightforward game progress. Players literally repeat certain actions or stories rather than moving linearly from one event to the next.
This is what NIeR Automata is. Even 2B made a reference being stuck in a cycle of reincarnation.
Within the spiral of reincarnation.
I see what you did there, Yoko Taro. But anyway, these endings are part of that cycle. We get to start all over again. We see some of the same choices played out that cause us to suffer, but then we see new choices that are made. Ultimately, we're suffering again in a different way. Yoko Taro has us all going through our own nihilist quest. We've now seen the different choices that A2 has made, and seen some of the same choices and new choices play out throughout her life. Now, A2 hasn't made any new appearances recently. Her story did not extend any further in NIeR Reincarnation. She was a playable character, but nothing about her story was extended, at least as far as I'm aware. Yoko Taro tends to leave it up to our imagination. But in the box set of Volume 2, which a shout out goes to Fucks in my Discord server for providing me with the pictures from the box set, it states, in this branch, a different course of events compared to the previous ones until now was recorded. Despite the fact that all existing singularities 2B, 9S, A2 had to cease functioning at this point, the phenomenon changed due to a violation of orders by the particular pod systems 42 and 153. It has been speculated that a new singularity may exist, but no confirmation has been obtained at this stage. The damage sustained at the Association's HQ in an attack by Group B has also delayed this investigation. Heightening observation is strongly advised as this branch exceeded expectations and may lead to the fall down. That is all. Another interesting note from the last box set was this. Anxiety robs the future, and disappointment turns into a curse. That's why I gave the children the God they needed. Everything must go according to plan, because it is our responsibility to save this world. But now things are no longer going according to plan. By a single-minded thought, the plan was given to us was negated. An unexpected will chooses to leave the cycle of reincarnation, even if it meant bringing about the worst possible future. According to an interview with Yoko Taro, the fall down refers to an event which every single timeline disappears and is annihilated. So Accord actually is working to prevent that from happening. So this confirms the theory that the three of them were brought back because there's a bigger role for them to play. If the fall down is happening in the anime branch, potentially the Accords will need to prevent that from happening. Now in my Discord server, we all shared our thoughts on what we thought would be A2's motivation. The fun theory is that they bring back someone like number 4 because it seems like there could be something between the two of them. I personally do not lean towards that completely. I think A2 will do anything to save all the worlds that she and her family lived in. Same thing with 2B and 9S. They made it clear in the concert End of Data that they do not care about saving humanity, but I'm pretty sure they will not let the worlds be destroyed. So let me know what you all think in the comments. I'd love to hear from you to have the conversation. In fact, in my upcoming videos, I'll take a couple minutes to talk about the comments in here. If you would like to join my Discord server, the link is in the description. Thank you all for your continued support. I appreciate it, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.